let's start with Vivian.
Okay, so my
Keep it
first one was InstaFame story summary. So I summarized 4 main points. The first one was when she got help from therapy. Then the second one was when she talked to Detective Kim. Third one was when she wanted people to stop catcalling her. And then the fourth one was when her appointment kept getting canceled. So like all of these parts were like times when she was stressed out, and then therapy kind of helped her. The literary playlist. The first song I chose was "Lovely" by Billie Eilish. So I said it's like the topic is about mental health, anxiety, and she kind of feels the same. 6 Feet Under by Billie Eilish. So the song describes her feelings about losing herself and that someone took her heart away, and Chanel is searching for identity again. Silence by Marshmello and Khalid. The song says that they are at peace with this violence, but they have been quiet for too long. So this is like Chanel when she needs to start to, kind of confronting Brock about it. The next one was Sexual Assault Story by Julia Fredfield. And she wrote about how other people react to following her experience and how their words impacted her just like they impacted Chanel. And then Fiona Apple wrote Sullen Girl, and she wrote about her experience of being assaulted as a child, and then how she tried to hide these feelings away from people, and Chanel felt the same.
Okay, I did the impactful InstaFame post. So the first one I did with her in the police station when she had to talk about her relationship with Lucas. Like, she actually enjoyed it, but then she realized that everything in her life is going to be unturned for this case. And then she also wonders at that point, what if she didn't have Lucas? Would that make her any less of a victim? And then the other one was when she was about to leave on October 5th, I think, for the hearing, and then it was canceled again, or like moved. And this has happened 2 times before that. And this is, again, something that's kind of important because she goes on an emotional roller coaster between being ready to go through this and then waiting for it to go through this. So the second one was Trending Connections. The first one, I put #WeirdJobInterview, which is when she compared her meeting with her DA and the advocate. And she compares it to a job interview because they're asking her a bunch of questions, and she has to fit the description of victim in order to actually become a victim. And then the next one was #NewStart, which is when she went to Rhode Island for the printmaking stuff, and she wanted to escape her reality for a while, so she went and enjoyed her time there until she could get to the hearing. And then last one is #CreepyGuys, which is when she was getting catcalled in Rhode Island, but despite that, she insisted on taking her walks because it's something she enjoyed, rather than actually just giving up and taking a car.
Okay. So I had 2. My first one was sell a book to your followers, and I basically kind of just drew all the events in the chapters 3 to 5 onto the cover, and then like I put, this was kind of just her Emily Chanel, that disparity of like being these 2 characters, and then I drew the fan, which was the fan that Lucas gave her when she was in Rhode Island, and then I drew I drew sand because during the trial she talked about how the defense attorney kept like canceling out her lines, like what she was saying, like he's like, oh, I would like to remove the last 2 lines of that statement, right? So it's kind of like her words were falling like sand, so I put sand. And then I drew obviously a bike, that was a big symbol for her as well. And then to symbolize the shooting, there's a rifle, and then the black Mustang that she yelled at, and then a shattered phone. Yeah. And the last one is a text from Lucas that says, I love you, because Lucas is a really big part of her. Yeah. And then my second one was basically rising action, and I had to explain what the conflict was, and I would say that the main conflict right now would be the trial, but the tension doesn't exist between her and Brock. It kind of exists between, like, it's an internal conflict between her and, like, Emily, kind of. Like, her accepting it or her battling with whatever's going on. And then, for foreshadow, I think that there's, like, we obviously know, like, because we've been through this, like, we know that this trial happened, like, years ago, and we know that he only gets 6 month sentence. I think that that will probably be, like, the climax, and where she kind of has to, well, I believe that she will be heartbroken, but she'll also eventually accept it and find closure and peace.
Okay. So for this week, I had vocab Instafame feed and Buzz News article. For vocab Instafame feed, I had the words therapy, accountability, victim, printmaking, incapacitated, harassment, annihilated, volatile, ludicrous, no, powerful, mantras, xianyao, which is a Chinese word, cordiality, and vulnerability. So one of the words I want to point out right now is therapy. We all know the definition, but I thought this word was important because Chanel in the beginning of chapter 3 and 4, she kind of like showed that she didn't like think she needed therapy, but in the end she gave in and like she eventually went to therapy, and that actually helped her a lot. And then I chose the word xianyao because that's the word she said her gonggong, her grandpa, used to, or what the word her name sounded like when her grandparents said her name, and it basically meant a little bird, and I thought that was very cute. And another important word I chose was no, because even though we all know the definition of no, it's still a powerful word, and I think like saying no doesn't mean like convince me. And then for Buzz News articles, the catchy titles I made were Stanford sexual assault victim finally meets with district attorney, which was the beginning of chapter 3. No semen found was when Chanel finally received the call that there were no semen found after the test, and she was kind of relieved by that. And then my third one was where is the Brock Turner victim now, and that was when Chanel went to Rhode Island for her class over the summer. The fourth one was love-deprived man goes on mass killing spree, which was the shooting in Santa Barbara when Chanel was recalling it during her time in Rhode Island. And then the fifth one was sexual assault case woman testifies after almost a year, more specifically 10 months. So she answered 321 questions of both the defense attorney and her people. And I when I wrote about that, I kind of thought like she would receive hate, and that was kind of what happened. Yeah.
I had 2 as well. The first one was, I don't know, Google it. And the question I asked was, how long does it normally take to get a hearing or a court date set specifically? Because 10 months, like you said, was a very long time. And court dates are usually set between 2 weeks and 3 months. It really depends on the case in general. Generally, criminal cases are more accelerated than civil cases. But there's technically no limit to how long you can wait before an official date is set. The general rule is 8 months, because beyond that it becomes a denial of the right to a speedy trial by jury. But anything before that, I mean, it's interesting because it shows the excessive delays. They were a bit unusual, because if you compare 2 weeks to 3 months, yes, it's a very large date, it's a very large range, but you compare that to 10 months, it's sad that she had to wait so long, and it really highlights the frustration she must have felt at having to wait so long for something that she thought was going to be quick and easy, because it was such an obvious thing that she was assaulted. Why wouldn't this happen for her? And then I also had group chat, and I just went through a series of texts essentially illuminating all the different times that the court date was changed. So the first time is like, your hearing has been scheduled for June 8th, 2015, and like thanks from Chanel and Tiffany, her sister. And then as the texts keep coming in of the different dates being changed, everybody's just getting more and more frustrated. So yeah.
Okay. I did like Instafame feed, and it was just like making Instagram posts. And the first one was like the start of chapter 3, and when she was like saying like the split between like Emily and Chanel, and then that she would just like draw pictures of like weird birds and the what's it called, electrical wires. And the second one is like her moving to like the yellow room, and the third one is her first day of relief printing. The fourth one was the bicycle, the picture of the bicycle that she taped on top of her headboard. The fifth one is her visiting her maternal grandfather, and then the last one is like she laid down on just the mattress of her sister's bed to go to sleep when she was doing the hearing. And then I did the character Selfie, and I just did her with the first print that, or her last print that she made for her class when she.
I wanted to discuss the questions that I asked, and then furthermore, I wanted to discuss what archetypal imagery, characters, and situations that we've encountered so far. So the first question is, why do you think Chanel automatically separated her life to Emily's?
I think it was a way of coping with the trauma, because I know that a lot of people who experience trauma, they try to like block it out, or they kind of disassociate.
Yeah.
It's the idea that if Emily Doe is the one that is participating in these trials, it happened to her, not to me. It happened to her. I don't have to, like I said, disassociating. I don't have to associate myself with this atrocity, this trauma, and it's not a part of my life. I can go on living. This never happened to me. Nothing disturbed my routine.
Do you think she just a quick question, like follow-up question. Do you think she wanted to appear normal to other people as well? Was it nothing happened?
Yeah, because she said a lot about how she didn't want that if she told her grandfather, he would like break down.
Mm.
So then I think it was a lot about like protecting, or maybe she just thought that she was protecting them, but it was really protecting herself.
I kind of saw like using Emily Doe was like her way of not being attacked by the public, because like her sister's name was already in the public, like they're already criticizing her. If her name was out, like they could find who she is, where she lives, and who she's friends with. And also just using like the whole Emily Doe identity, I think Chanel was trying to protect what she did have. Like she didn't want too much change happening into her life. Like it was already affecting her job, and as Kai said about her grandfather, like he wouldn't be able to take it. And like I feel like she just didn't want her life to change so much because of this case.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Why does Chanel mention the Santa Barbara shootings, and what archetypal imagery do we see?
I think she mentioned it because she was kind of referring to the catcall guys, and then she was kind of saying how, and also with her case, how like kind of guys, they feel like girls like owe them sex, and how like girls aren't allowed to really like, they're always like intruded upon, and they just kind of are expected. Like that's what they're expected of from guys.
I think the exact word she used was entitlement.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
There's also an analogy, as if the door is always open and it's our job to shut it.
Yeah.
And it's like instead of being selective about who we sleep with, we have to be selective about who we don't. We have to actively tell them no rather than actively telling them yes, because otherwise they're entitled to it, like she said.
Yeah, and I think she's saying how like Brock was kind of like that, and like that's why he kind of felt entitled that he got to like harass her and assault her.
Yeah.
I agree with your statements. So yeah, there's just a point where people don't really know what rights they have and which ones they just assume.
Yeah. So in the on page 90, she says, in italicized words, it says, "I'll punish all females for the crime of depriving me of sex." In Elliot's world, the unspoken law was that women owed him sex. We existed only to receive him. Those were the rules, and that was our purpose. Sex was his right and our responsibility. The punishment in his world for breaking his laws, for rejecting sex, was death. When headlines first broke after the assault, Brock's smiling photo accompanied every article. Unfair that he is publicly shamed while she gets to hide, commenters said. So that's kind of her shift from talking from the Santa Barbara shootings to what happened to her.
I think it's also scary for me, even just seeing her own fear, because the next line was, "Why should I want to humiliate him when I'd seen what it could lead to?"
Yeah.
And the idea that we have this expectation that if we deny people sex or what they want, if we deprive men of that, then we're putting ourselves in danger. We are hurting ourselves and hurting them, and it shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't be so scared of what they could retaliate with that we feel like we're not allowed to hurt. We're not allowed to be a victim, right? We have to be accepting. It's our fault that he got arrested. It's our fault this happened, but it's not.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
next question.
Anything else to add?
I was just gonna say that, like, with that said, there's also the part in the books where it's like they're like, but she's not even that good looking.
Oh,
yeah.
So
Oh,
like,
yeah,
how could
facts.
she be like raped if she wasn't even that good looking? And also when she was talking about her boyfriend, about like, what if I didn't have a what if I didn't already belong to another man? Would it be
Yes.
different?
And she specifically talks about that one summer after she broke up with her first boyfriend where she was just having casual sex with men. She's like, what if that happened during that summer?
The boyfriend thing is also relevant with the catcalling, because when he went to visit her before they moved to Philadelphia, she was like, there's a line that the men respect when Lucas is there that doesn't exist for her.
Okay.
I just want to add that going back to the fear of like what would happen if you like didn't give in to these men's like entitlement. I kind of saw this fear when she and her friends were chasing that black
Mustang.
Mustang. And she went to the street. They started chasing it, and then at one point she saw the man's face, and then she like made her friend stop because she was scared
Because
what would
it
happen.
was real.
Yeah.
And then she also went to look for victims, and I really think that
Not
this
to
like
look for victims, but
or
for
witnesses. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last question that I asked was, why do you think Chanel repeatedly finds herself going back to the media stories, though she knows that it's not right? She even acknowledges it in her therapy session.
I think she doesn't want to admit that the comments affect her, but then they do, and she kind of just wants to see what other people say about her, because everyone cares at the end of the day what people think of them, but she just didn't want to admit it, so like she just keeps reading it.
There's also the fact that she blacked out during that, and she didn't really know what was going on. She didn't know what was happening. She had no criteria. No, not criteria. She had no parameters for what went down.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't know what happened. She didn't know, is she a
She
victim?
didn't even know
Is
the
she?
truth.
Is it her fault? Is it his fault? What's happening? Did this really happen to me? And looking at all those comments is kind of her way of saying, she's trying to find validation, and she's not getting it. And the more she looks, kind of the farther she falls into this kind of feedback loop of is this really what happened? She's doubting herself because even she doesn't know.
Right. And then archetypal imagery that we see and situations, also characters. One thing I wanted to point out was when we were talking about the quest, Miss Drescher brought up the fact that the quest can be internal as well. So I think this is going to be an internal quest where she's kind of just dealing with whatever happened. Like, though there is an external part of it, which is the trial, the main part is going to be her inside, because we know her thoughts, we know her feelings and her perspectives from the story.
We also know that ultimately didn't get that harsh of a sentence.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big victory. It wasn't something that she learned in that case. It was something that she learned to deal with and manage herself and overcome to write this book for everybody else.
Yeah, and like I guess in a sense that like writing the book would be like her return to the original world where she reclaims her name.
Her truth is known.
She becomes the master of two worlds.
Yeah.
What she was and what she is now.
Yeah, Leland, did you say anything?
No.
What archetype do you think Lucas is?
Would you say he's a sidekick?
Or a helper or a guide or
I
a
think
mentor?
he could also be like a sage.
The sage?
A sage? I'm not sure because he doesn't lead her, he supports her.
Yeah. All right, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.